Nicholas, I'm curious, more on a practical side, and then we can switch gears a bit, but what has it looked like for you as an artist to go and take part in the Occupy movement?
It's been really fantastic, actually, to be on the ground and surrounded by like-minded people from all walks of life, and it's been really inspiring to see so many other artists out there. Early in the show, you mentioned that I was organizing, or have been organizing, the Performing Artists of the 99%, but that's just one of many, many, many groups who are out there on the ground doing works of theater, music, dance. There's been, like just on November 2nd, the general strike in Oakland, just on that day alone, there was samba on stilts, there was newspaper theater, there was Occupy Theater was out there, which is a collaboration between a lot of great San Francisco organizations. There were clowns on the street, there were musicians on many corners, there was conscious hip-hop, there were dancers of all types, and seeing people out on the street doing either political work that was true to their heart, an artistic expression of politics, or just their own art, really helped to create unity in the community. There was a marching band, or several marching bands actually, moving with the protests all day, and it gave a beat, it gave a rhythm, it gave a vibrancy to the air and to people's bodies. You could feel the electricity of what was happening through the rhythm of the music, and that's a very primal thing. I mean, art is, at its very core, the stripping back of the layers of reality to some fundamental truth or some fundamental emotion that we can all connect with. And out on the street, every time you see a different artist just expressing themselves, you connect in some way. You add on a layer of just the reality that they are at the protest. That means they're supporting it, no matter what their art is. That adds a layer of potency. Then if they're doing political street theater, that is a very subversive act in and of itself. And the Bay Area has a long history of politically really compelling, subversive, potent street theater, public works of art of all kinds, from graffiti to hip-hop to the San Francisco Mime Troupe. We have a rich heritage here, and so many artists with incredible talents who have been lending themselves more and more to this movement, both for their own reasons and because it's just a wonderful platform for expression.
And last Tuesday I saw you out, last Wednesday you were out clowning and doing circus art. And what are you hoping to bring as your own clown or your own artist to the protests?
So I'm hoping to do two things. One, to provide a space for other artists to show up, to say, hey, you don't have to go out there alone. There's a lot of us out there, and join us. We'll walk around. We don't have to do any art. Or if you want to do some art, we'll create a space. We'll gather a crowd. We'll support you. We'll bring you up and keep you safe, because there are safety concerns, to any public action, especially a political action. But then secondly, with my own personal art, I'm hoping to bring awareness through levity. I want to bring lightness out there, because I've grown up around protests and social movements, and it can get very combative. It can get very us and them. There's a lot of great reasons why people are so vehemently for a cause that it can boil their blood, and they can have all of this unchecked kind of potential energy inside of them that, as we've seen, can lash out against bank windows. It can turn into, scuffles over really nonsense issues between protesters. People who are on the same side can build tension against each other. And so with my work on the street, I'm hoping to bring lightness to the crowd, to the general energy, and also to just lampoon the concept that there is a righteous path, that there's like one way to do this, because that idea is totally against the movement. The movement itself is saying there are so many paths, and we're listening to very, very few of them. Listen to the 99% in all of their disparate, with all their just very diverse ideas. And so I want to simultaneously support and make fun of all of them, because I think that just brings the best conversation.
Totally, totally. That's so great. Nikolas, I'm wondering if you could share some moments that stand out from you from being out and clowning out on the street.
The first real exciting moment of the day, well, first just seeing Angela Davis speak in the morning was very cool. And then as we were gathering at our meeting spot to support performing artists who came out, we saw a group of 5 red-nosed clowns who we had never met, had never seen before, just step out of the subway and locked eyes from 100 yards away, and in slow motion just ran towards each other and had this huge embrace, and there's just instant community, like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in so long, it's amazing, and just such warmth and kindness, and there's, first of all, everyone who's out there is in it together because you're part of the same movement, you're working towards a common goal, but then to see circus people, and in particular clowns out there, there's just this other level of camaraderie, and so just like, yes, other people are out here doing the same thing. There was also a clown gathering at Snow Park at 1 p.m., which we weren't able to make it to, but it was really cool to know that on the other side of town there's a mass of clowns, and over here there's a mass of clowns, and we're all in this together. So that was really fantastic. Other moments. Like I said, seeing all the hip-hop artists, the dancers, musicians, and the power that they had in just sharing who they were, what they loved, what they wanted to do, I thought was really, really beautiful. And then during our circus show, we actually set up a show with performers who had never performed together before. We met in front of the occupied Citibank. We saw a line of protesters who had been there all day, since 10 in the morning. It had been many, many hours. We just went up and asked them, hey, so you guys are doing a great job. Is there any way we can help you out? And they said, well, no, I think we've got water, we've got what we need. We're okay. We said, well, how about this? Can we perform for you? Like, you've been here all day, probably gets a little boring. Let's share. And they said, excellent, great. So we set up. We had a cellist who joined us. Set up with a cello in the middle of the street. It's fantastic. We had some juggling. We had hula hoops. We had poi, and then that gave the framework for a show. But then what really inspired me was the bringing in of the audience. That we basically just walked around and asked everybody, we're about to begin the People's Circus. If there's anyone who has a special skill, a talent, or a terrible talent, who wants to come up and perform, share for your fellow protesters, now is the time. And we got a couple of Oakland local kids. I think one was about 10, one was 12, and they showed off their skateboarding tricks, so we gave them the forum for that. We pulled up some audience members and had them doing acrobatics for the first time in their lives.
Wow.
And then, did ballroom dancing to the cello music with people. And so just bringing in people to a state of just physical, kinetic, emotional joy was just my favorite moment of the day. And actually, in the midst of that, was when the anti-capitalist march was happening, and when some protesters did choose to become violent, particularly over at Whole Foods and Wells Fargo. And we got word in the middle of the show, right at kind of a climactic point in just a really stupid clown number, we get word that a mob of people is coming down the street with sticks, and they're gonna break out the windows here, and and so it was this moment of it cracked the surface of what we thought we were doing, what the audience thought was happening, what the people who were occupying Citibank thought was happening, and we were all faced with
protest.
Absolutely. So we were faced with this question of what's our first reaction? How do we feel about the concept that these people are moving down the street wanting to break out the windows here? And there was an instantaneous shift in the energy. The show, the circus show, stopped instantly, and opinion was so in favor of peaceful demonstration, peaceful discourse, that the gathered crowd of 100 or more folks just almost created like a psychic barrier against what could have happened. And so by the time people came up raring to break things.
And did you see this group of people coming?
Absolutely. They
Wow.
came right into the crowd, some of them onto the stage of our formed circus stage.
Yeah.
And froze. Just thought, like, first of all, they say, why are there clowns here?
Yeah.
Why are all these people looking at us like this? What's going on? And instantly, members of our crowd joined up with the Citibank occupiers to then create a human barrier between one faction of violence-minded activists. I'm not exactly sure what to call them, but violence-minded folks, and then the peaceful protesters themselves. And so it was a really powerful moment to me, and something that I won't forget. Just being able to witness that, to be right there as people's compassionate sense of what was right trumped the emotion that we're all feeling, which is, my God, these banks have done us serious wrong, and we are all worse off for the choices that they've made. Yet, is it going to serve to break glass? Is that going to help us all in the long run? No. Someone's going to get cut. So public opinion is going to focus entirely on the violence, and it's going to alienate people. And the entire purpose of the movement is to convince people that we are all in this together.
Right.
And for me, I want to recognize and appreciate different people's means to getting to justice, but if the means are going to work against the very fabric of the movement, which is we're all in this together, then it becomes, it stops being worth it.
Right.
And we've seen that over the last week or so. People have said, well, I believe in the movement, but I don't believe that breaking things is the right way. And so it puts up a barrier between the people who were almost on the verge of joining the movement, getting out in the streets, speaking their piece, and then realizing, well, no, I don't want to get tear gassed just so I can break a window. Like that's not me. And so my message to anyone who is sympathetic to the movement or is even just looking at it in a conscious way, that's not the purpose. There's frustration. We've all got anger, we've all got frustration, we've all got confusion about what to do, but the entire purpose of the movement is how can we change things for the better, not just tear it down for a clean slate. It's about what we can build, what our potential is as humans.
Well, that's beautiful, Nikolas. Thank you. Inspiring to hear. I'm curious just what happened to the more violent protesters. Did they end up going somewhere else, or was there a confrontation in any way?